My name is Katherine Annabelle Bonato. I was born on January 1st, 1926. I had one sister, 5 years older than myself. Her name was Nellie Marie. Our maiden name was Wiesner. I was born in Battle Creek, Michigan on January 1st, 1926. I lived there for 10 years. When I was 14, I was living outside of Detroit, Michigan. Detroit at that time was a very nice town. They didn't seem to have, not that I knew of, any problems. But my family didn't live in Detroit. We lived in a village outside of Detroit called Grosse Pointe Woods. And I went alone on the train to Chicago, Illinois, to visit my aunt and uncle. I was very fond of my aunt and uncle, so I was happy to be going to visit them, and I had never been to Chicago, and I knew it was a big city and a nice place. I went by way of New York Central train from Detroit to Chicago. My aunt and uncle met me, and I stayed with them for about 2 weeks, and during that time, I met the young man who was going to become my future husband, Carol Bonato. I was only there a few days before I met Carol, whose family was friends with my aunt and uncle. In those days, it was common to go to places that were called bars, and I was at a bar with my aunt and a lady friend of hers who was a cousin of my uncle's, and I was playing the pinball machine, and Carol came up to me and started talking. I really liked him from the start, I guess you could call it love at first sight. He was cool. At that time he was 17 and I was 14. He asked me if I could go on a picnic with him and his older brother, 4 years older, and a group of other friends. And I asked my aunt, and she said yes, I could. We had only one date that year, 1941, when I was 14, because then I was scheduled to go back home on the train to Detroit. He enlisted in what was then called the Army Air Corps in 1942. He was 20 years old. I was so proud of him. He flew a P-51 Mustang in 103, they called them sorties, from March of 1944 to early December of 1944. He was flying combat over Germany and occupied France. He was shot down, not by another plane, but by what was called flak in those days. And he had to make his way back to an American base. He was behind the enemy lines. We kept in touch by letters, and I still have many of his letters. We were married in 1945. At that time, the government had established something called the GI Bill of Rights, and he was entitled to go to college, paid for by the government at that time. He wanted to go to the University of Chicago Law School. As a result of our having gotten together and getting married, we had 3 children, 2 grandchildren, and 5 great-grandchildren. And if I had not traveled to Chicago on that occasion, I would not have met Carol Bonato, who I married and was married to for 65 years.